Hey guys, DarkDeath5000 here again. A couple of you have been asking for my updated controls over the past few months. To be honest, I've not really changed that much, but I have changed something. So I'm just going to be going over my current controls in this video. Before I get into all the settings, I just want to say, well, thanks basically. Thanks to everyone that's subscribed over the last few months. In January, I had around 80 subscribers, and today I've got 488, so almost 500, which is just crazy. I just never imagined I'd get so many subs from doing controller videos. But in a way, I'm happy that the information is getting out there, so it's a good thing, I guess. And I look forward to getting more, hopefully. So yeah, big thanks to all the guys, everybody that's subscribed. So yeah, anyway, just to explain the control. For those of you that are following my previous settings from 2019, I have not really changed that much. I'm still running the L1 and R1 or the pitch. The left stick is the aim, the mouse aim, and the right stick is your throttle and the roll. The only thing I've really changed is the zoom and the yaw, which I've put on square and circle instead of L1 and R1. So basically I can now pitch up and I can yaw left and right at the same time, and I can also pitch down and yaw left and right at the same time. So again, those of you that are on my controls from the last video, that was the main downside with them. You couldn't do both at the same time. So if you played arcade, you was at somewhat of a disadvantage. Even in realistic, the rudder can be very useful, so again, you was at a sort of disadvantage there. And I got into dogfights with PC players, and that's when I realised I really need this yaw, because they can do the turns even in realistic, they can outturn you. So I realised I need to do something there. So like I said, what I did, I kept L1 and R1 just for the pitch up and down, and I moved the yaw to square and circle. So I'll just bring up the controls and show you what I've got now. So all of this should be exactly the same so far, the same to the other video. I don't really think I've changed anything. I may have adjusted the rockets and things like that because I was experimenting there again. I haven't really tried, they added new jets and things like that, you know, modern vehicles with air-to-air missiles, things like that. And they've also got radar now. Now I haven't experimented with these. To be honest, I think we would struggle because there's just not enough buttons on the controller. You may be able to do something with shift keys. Again, I need to look into this at some point, but for now I'll just skip over that. Oh, and just for making the video complete, because people do want to see the new menus, I'll just go back and show you everything. So I'm not going to go over it too much detail this time because I've already covered it in the previous video. But that should basically be stock. Sometimes, for some reason, I call it a dual stage trigger, the right trigger, so it lets you do the light press for machine guns, and then a full press is the cannons and the machine guns. But for some reason even, it doesn't work sometimes. And what you need to do is come in here to the enable axis and just put R2 to enable it, and that usually fixes it in my experience. So if you can't get the dual trigger to work for the machine guns and cannons, just give that a try. And bring the throttle now. So I have mine on relative. I think again this should be fairly stock. The only thing I've changed here is the dead zone. I've put this all the way up so it doesn't accidentally adjust the throttle while I'm rolling. because that is one downside of having the roll on the right stick. It's the same as the throttle, so you can accidentally adjust the throttle while you're rolling. So that is just one way to avoid that, by setting the dead zone high. On the roll axis, pretty stock again, it's just on the right stick. And the pitch, so this is what makes up the controls. This is the main change around the default controls I've made. So L1 is your pitch up, as in directing the plane up in towards the sky. And then the minimum value R1, that's pitch down, so it points the plane's nose down to the ground. The dead zone and non-linearity, you can just ignore all this because there's no axis actually assigned. So these settings here are only relevant if you've got the axis assigned. And in this case we're just using the max and the min values, so they don't apply. And the yaw, so this is what I changed. Before I believe I had this on L1 and R1 separately, and then the pitch was L1 and R1 pressed together. So I've changed it this time. I've got L1 for the pitch, as you just saw, and R1 for the pitch down. So this allows you to, let's say you're pitching up by holding L1. You've got your left thumb on the left stick, so you can aim with that at the same time, and you've also got your right stick, so your right thumb on the right stick, so you can throttle and roll again. And you can quite easily take your thumb off the right stick onto square and circle, just to briefly use the yaw. So that works out quite nicely, and it's fairly comfortable to do as well. So I've got the max value there set to circle, which is going to be yaw right, so that's going to move the tail section of the plane towards the right. And then for the min value, again, just square there, which is going to move the tail section, the yaw and the rudder, to the left. I have set the multiplier here to 2. But again, there is no axis assigned, so I don't think it actually does anything. But anyway, you can just copy that down. Flaps are pretty much the same again. I haven't changed anything there. In fact, I think that is possibly all I did change. Oh, the zoom as well. I think I changed. Yeah. I may have also changed the target tracking to triangle. I think it was on square before. I can't actually think why I changed that. It might be something to do with tanks, because I've been testing out the tank controls recently. So yeah, the zoom is what I've been playing with. So I've got this on the left trigger still, L2. And I enable it with L2 and L1 plus R1. The multiplier is set at 0.5. And the correction, this is where it gets a bit fancy. So the correction means it's going to be always enabled. So as soon as I touch it, you can see where the green section is in the bar above. So here, this is the logical axis, so that is going to reflect where the zoom is in game. So I'm not even touching it now and it's already enabled. So basically what's going to happen is, as soon as I touch L2, it's going to kick in the game, and the zoom is going to be roughly at 50% already. So I've also got the enable axis here on L1 and L1 and R1 even, which happens to be a free binding. In other words, it's not in use. So in game, what that does is it enables the zoom. So when I press that, it's going to enable the zoom at that 50%, so it's going to be fixed. And the reason I've got that is for aiming primarily. Often I find I can't actually see targets well enough to get the shots on. So if I just put this little bit of zoom on, it helps with my aiming, I find. I'm still experimenting with it, but it does help, I think. And again, you can do all sorts with this. You could even remove the axis from here. You could remove this and set it to none, or you could assign it to some other axis that you're never going to use, like the right stick up and down, for instance. And then if you enable it with L2, it's then going to be a fixed zoom, so the axis is no longer going to work. But again, that may have benefits helping you aim. So it's worth trying out. I've been experimenting, but I like to have the axis so I can do the half zoom and the full zoom. Just because when I'm looking around with the camera, it's handy to zoom in. And also when you're attacking bombers, you do sometimes need the zoom because you're shooting from quite a range. So you really need the full zoom and the partial zoom on the fixed key. So L1 and R1 is what I'm using there. But yeah, otherwise the zoom is just the same really. I've got the smoke on still. Again, that should be the same. I may have also changed the X and the Y axis here. I think in the previous video I said not to set any non-linearity here. But I've actually found if you had at a slight amount, very slight, so the default is 2. So by very slight I mean 1.4, which is almost nothing. It just helps enough to make your aiming more precise, I guess I could say. You'd have to experiment in game, but if you set this up and then watch the cursor in game, you'll probably find it's more smoother with just a little bit. But there's a very fine line. If you go too high with it, it definitely affects your aim, I think. So you only want a very, very slight amount. Again, like I said in the previous video, you don't want the non-linearity and the aim acceleration conflicting. But just a little bit non-linearity with the acceleration seems to help, from what I can gather anyway. Again, I don't know if I've changed anything here. I may have bumped up the sensitivity a little bit. To be honest, these are personal preference, like I've said before. No, don't just copy these sensitivities and settings down. Experiment for yourself. War Thunder is really a game you have to put the time in, figure out your controls, and then it pays off. Everybody's different. You know, you can't just copy my controls down and hope. You know, hope for the best. You've got to work at it and figure out what works for you. Well, yeah, that is pretty much all I've changed. I did experiment with helicopters, but nah, I couldn't really get into it. Not even worth showing the helicopter controls, really. The tanks, I would like to show this, but I don't know, I'm not 100% happy with it at the moment. There is a few things I need to work out, and I'll probably do a separate video on it. But the idea I had was throttle on the right stick, and I've also got the gearing, so you can change gears. Yeah. But yeah, like I said, I'm not 100% happy with it. I'm not really sure if it's gonna be workable. I don't know. I need to play more with the tanks to figure it all out. But it seems so-so at the moment. But anyway, yeah, ships again, I have tried, but I'm not going to bother showing. I need to put more time in with the ships so I can figure out what controls work and what controls don't work. But yeah, common controls, so these apply to every mode, including planes, so I'll just go over these. So the map is on down. Statistics is the right stick plus right. So again, most of this should be the same. I mean, as far as I know, I haven't changed anything on the common section. Yep, so that's pretty much it, guys. You know, just a quick video there. There's no point going into too much detail because I've done all this before. You know, there's already a whole bunch of videos on this that I've done over the years. I think I've covered just about everything really. So I hope this helps you guys. They've been asking for the updated controls. Keep subscribing, guys. The more subscribers we get, I believe, the more console players see the video. Or videos, I should say, because I've done that many of these now. So yeah, the more you guys subscribe, the more this gets out there, and the more we start to see console players doing well in game. I have seen quite a few good console players since I put out the last few videos. So hopefully it's working. Seems to be anyway. People are doing better. People are getting more kills. But yeah, that's all I've got at the moment for you. Like I say, I'm working on the tanks. I'll probably have a video out soon for them, for some kind of controls. I'll try and play War Thunder more often. I've been a bit bored of it, I guess, recently, because they haven't really done a whole lot of development with the planes in the last few years, and it's just all growing a bit stale and boring. I was hoping World War mode would have been good, but no, it's a bit of a disappointment. Just like a regular ground forces game, as far as I'm concerned. It would be nice if they brought Enduring Concentration out again, but made it a proper mode. I mean, it's not been on now for a while. But to be honest, that's the last hope I've got for this game. Still play planes on the rarity, maybe once or twice a week. But it's getting pretty boring. I mean, even the realistic games now, they have mixed battles, so they have all nations versus all nations. So, you know, there's nothing realistic about it anymore. It's a shame, really. Such a good game, but they've ruined it. Anyway, guys, that's it for the video. Thanks for watching. Again, make sure you subscribe.